Hi. Okay. Vampire Canopy Part 1, which has been a partial success, partial failure. So let me tell you what's happened. And I didn't video it because it was supposed to be a trial, but the trial caused somewhat of a failure. So I have got a little canopy, which I would say is about a 90 to 95% successful molding off that. So it took me quite a while last night to glue those pieces together, then glue a piece of fairly strong plastic on the inside there, and then mount these two strong poles on, which is also styrene, onto that. And it wasn't at this angle last night, it was correctly centered, so that this can be held in the vise, and then I would do my tests. So this was the plastic which I'd sort of thought was a little bit too thin, and I moved on to a thicker plastic, which I'll show you what happened now. That failed, so back to that one, but not stretching it as much as I had done over that one to cause that very soft crinkly effect. So luckily the canopy requires much less stretching. So I've been cutting out now for the past 10 minutes, and I'm going to try and make a usable canopy out of this. I'm not sure if it's going to work, or alternatively we'll call it whatever I achieve, that's it. So I've got two of them, roughly to the same quality. But what happened when the heating was on it for a while, and this I didn't know at all, it slowly started shifting. Now you'll see that with the pressure that I was putting on, this has shifted downwards, so it's now at an angle there. But not only that, it started coming apart. And what happened, and I didn't realize this at all after 5 decades of model building, is that the styrene glue does not have much heat resistance. So the whole canopy started loosening slightly because it's glued on with styrene glue quite thickly. So it was a very, very good bond, but as soon as you start heating it, it started shifting and separating. So it's basically ruined right now. So I managed to get two before I realized this, and not only that, because I'd glued it on with a fair bit of glue, that had softened one section through the canopy. So once the heat was softening the styrene glue on the inside, it then also started softening the canopy to a degree because of the amount of glue inside. Now that's not a whole lot of heating, but with each time you're gradually warming it up just a little bit more and a little bit more, and it just doesn't have that sort of heat resistance. The canopy itself is not too bad, but I'd have to mount it with epoxy, I guess. So on any next trial that I do, it'll have to be epoxy, no glue present. And that also means that the windshield part and the main part can't be glued on to each other with styrene glue, which probably means you either achieve it with an epoxy block, but remember I still need to be able to pull that over it, so it can't just be on a level surface like that. So that, that'll sort of go into the collection of reminder trials of sort of what sort of things can go wrong. And I spent quite a bit of time making this and sanding it and getting that all right, so it's a little bit disappointing. So the second plastic which I'd got from, it wasn't a Coke bottle, but it could be this, I'm not sure if it's the same material, to be honest. I still didn't grab a Coke bottle. Now what you may see here is that it just started crinkling up. This one, and I can show you what happens with this one. I'll do the difference. Let me show you. So this one, it'll start softening now. Okay, there it's softening and it's getting very floppy, and it sort of just remains a floppy piece. So this is now quite pliable. You'd need to give it a little bit more heat to mold over something, but it wasn't crinkling up. This one, if it was that plastic, it would start softening and laying flat. Well, let me rather grab this one because it gives me a bit more distance from my hand. Thicker plastic, about double the thickness. Okay, it's starting to soften. Okay, this one is sort of, it's just crinkling up. So, and it's pretty stiff. So that plastic is not usable. I was trying once or twice to use that. It's a nice thickness. This is about 0.5 millimeter. Would have made a nice strong canopy compared to this one, which is about 1/5 of a millimeter. So if I had this thickness, and I might do, actually I do have one thing here. Yes, I've got this. This is a different material which I then molded with a bit of heat. This is about 1 millimeter thick. I actually want to try this. Let's just see what happens with this. I'm just going to grab it with that. Okay, there you go. That's very nice material. Look at that. So it's become nice and floppy. Nice and floppy and not crinkling. Very nice. So that is actually the perfect material for molding, which I did buy for molding, but I bought it for molding on RC canopies, so it's a fair bit thicker. But it will need a vac form bed, because if you're sitting there with a heat gun while molding this, you heat up the part too much. So that's sort of the benefit of a vac form machine, is you heat your pieces of plastic up to as much as you need, and then it goes down, it sucks on, and no more heat, and what's done is done. So it transfers very minimal heat onto the part. It of course does cool a lot faster. Now I can go and buy, but I had to buy a huge sheet of this. I can buy some thin ones, but I don't really need to make any canopies at the moment, other than this vampire one. But now that's ruined, so I won't be making anything more from that. Unless I can, well, no, you can't even really resurrect this, and I don't want to waste any more time on that one. So we are not going to have... I can still do a trial with the thin plastic on something else, just not a usable part for me. I can do a mold trial, you know, for the YouTube video, and we can try and mold something of interest. I do have this one's canopy. We could do a trial to remold this one's canopy, which is somewhat of a bigger task. Just for a YouTube demo. I can't quite see the canopy right now, but it is here somewhere. We could even try something molding just off a piece of a model, or even another one of these. So what have we learned? We have learned that styrene glue softens faster than plastic, or at least as fast as plastic, or at least as fast as that plastic, but the clear plastic usually holds up a little bit more. Anyway, so point number 2, this thing is great to heat the parts, but you need to be very aware of how much heat the area and the part is collecting itself. Don't really have a solution to that. I mean, of course, you could work quickly. You need to heat your plastic and try and get it on. I did that a couple of times and it just wasn't enough. Even with the thin, just not enough. As soon as I move it on, and I mean, we're pretty cold here at the moment. We're under 10 degrees Celsius. It just cools a bit too fast for me to get it on like that. I don't know how that's going to translate with the vac form machine, because although you can heat it fairly well, it does cool immediately. I mean, you could make some sort of heated chamber, but anyway, that's where we stand on that. So I think I'm gonna see if I can sand this one down a little bit more and actually get that onto the vampire. It is pretty thin. There's very little surface to glue, but I mean, it's better than not having a canopy. I'm not sure if it'll be a usable part. So I will just carry on working on something else tonight. Make some progress on the phantoms. Okay, happy modeling.